So the way that our editing works right now is whenever we make an edit and say save edit, what we're doing is just changing that data in our data model and then just closing the sidebar. And so obviously those changes won't persist whenever we refresh the browser, but now with Firebase we can actually persist those changes. So the function that's being called when we want to edit a classified currently is this edit classified function. And we'll still use this, but we have to change things up a little bit. What we have to do is instead of providing the ID of the classified that comes in like this, we have to use $ID. And $ID is going to line up with the actual Firebase ID that we get from our Firebase array. And then we can actually get rid of this second key here, this classified key, because in our editing controller, we're going to get a hold of the actual data object with a special Firebase function. So let's save that, and then let's come over here to our editing controller. And the first thing that we'll want to do is get a reference to our Firebase. And again, we do that with VM classifieds. We'll call it VM classifieds equals classifieds_factory.ref. And we'll just make sure we've got the classifieds factory coming in, and we do, it's right there. So now what we'll do is we will take from our state params, we'll take the ID that's going to come through, and then we'll use this getRecord function to actually get the record of our data object that's coming through. And to do that, we'll do VM classifieds getRecord. And then we'll wrap that in some parentheses. And so now we'll get the actual record that's associated with our Firebase data object. All right, so now down here in the save edit function, what we'll need to do is use $save to actually take that record and save it. So what we can do is VM classifieds, and then we'll do $save. And then what we want to save is that classified that we just set up. So this classified up here, which is pointing to the record based on the ID coming through the state params, will be saved into our Firebase. And once that's done, this returns a promise again. So once that's done, we can respond how we like. And let's just say that we want to omit this message again, and we want to close the sidebar as well. So we'll just put that into the callback. All right, so let's save that and let's take a look to see if it works. Let's say maybe if we wanted to edit this one, we come up to edit, and what you'll see here is we get the actual hashed ID coming from our Firebase in the URL bar now. And that is coming through this state params ID, which is done with $ID over here. Instead of the ID that we were previously putting in, we now use $ID, which automatically references this hashed ID here. So that comes through, and we've got everything showing up. Let's say this is actually a 30-foot trailer, and we'll save that edit. We see edit is saved. It shows up here as 30-foot equipment trailer. And then if we take a look at the dashboard here for our first item, we'll see that we get 30-foot equipment trailer here. And we could, of course, change it back, 20-foot equipment trailer. And right away, the change is reflected right over here. All right, so that's how we edit, but what about deleting? Well, we can set that up really easily too. And all we have to do is change up how our delete classified function is set up. So now instead of splicing out our data from this array, because we no longer are getting our data from an array, all we do here is say we want to remove it. And we can do that with $remove, which is provided by Firebase as well. So let's get rid of this, and we have our classified coming through when we click delete classified. If we remember over here in our delete click, let's just search for that. So VM delete classified, it takes the event and also the classified that we're on. And so over here in our controller, that comes through here. So we'll say vm.classifieds, and that's pointing to our Firebase reference, and then we do $remove. And then we just pass in that classified. And then let's just show a toast after. We didn't show a toast before, but we'll say classified deleted. All right, so let's save that and see if it all works out. We'll refresh. And let's start by maybe deleting one of these down here. We'll just click admin, delete. Are you sure you want to? Yes. and it goes away. We get our classified deleted up there. If we take a look now in our Firebase, we have one less item. So let's try deleting that iPhone one here. So we'll come back over and we will admin delete that. Are you sure? And then I'll click over to the dashboard right away so we can see it in action. So yes. Come over here, and in red, we've got that one that just disappeared. All right, so we've got all the pieces of CRUD, which is create, read, update, and delete. We've got all those pieces set up for our application. We've got all of our data persisted to a real-time data store through Firebase. And so now we've got a way to save our application's data, and it really didn't require a whole lot of extra work. We just had to put a few changes in to hook into Firebase, but there really wasn't a whole lot to it. And that's one of the big advantages of using Firebase. You can code your application kind of like how we set things up here by just saving data locally, and then you can move over to Firebase afterwards. So our Angular application is pretty much done. We've got all the pieces in place that we need. In the next section, we'll take another look at directives and see how we might use those to improve things in our app.